So hey guys, what's up? So me and Sachaee are gonna be making a video. Sachaee Singh are gonna be making a video. That's we're gonna talk about. So I'm from a small town, mostly white town, Pierce, British Columbia. It's up north, close to Alaska, and Sachaee is from Surrey, where he's been around a lot of brown people. So we're gonna explain about like the similarities. There's mostly gonna be differences in how it is growing up in different environments, being a brown dude, right? So I like to ask. So we're gonna start off with Sachaee, so he can speak a little bit from his side, how it is being a brown guy, being around others, and yeah. So Sachaee, you can start from your side.
Yeah, so me being born in Surrey and all that. Like I've been born and raised in Surrey, and it's mostly Punjabis I see. I feel like at least it's like 80-70% of people in like at least people in Surrey are Punjabi, right?
Yeah,
And like the white people are like the minorities, right?
yeah, yeah,
And in some population, like some schools or whatever, like some areas, like obviously there's more Asian people, there's more white people. But I feel
yeah.
like in general, it's definitely more Punjabis. And I never really like faced any racism or anything like that, really.
Okay.
Yeah, like the most I probably faced like in Surrey is just like like I remember one time I was like a Canadian Tire, like my mom and like my brother, right? We were like shopping for bikes or something, right?
Yeah,
And we were like putting the bikes in the cars, like putting in the car, for like, we just bought them and shit, right?
yeah.
And the lady just goes like, "Oh, those are like two lovely daughters you have," or some shit, right? And
Oh, yeah.
right, it's just because
How long ago was it, by the way?
like
Was
I
this
was
like
obviously
recent? Or
no, I was obviously like I was a kid still, so I was probably like 12. I
yeah,
think maybe like 12 years old or something. So like no beard, just like a little Judah, right? And because like the Judah with just like the Ramal on the Judah, like not the whole patka or whatever. Like
yeah,
that's what I used to wear, right? And my brother wore that too. And
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. She thought I was, she thought we were girls or whatever, right? But like really, I think that's the most like type
Oh,
of like racism we've faced. It's not even racism. It's kind of like just ignorance, maybe, kind of, right?
yeah.
But really, I think that's it. But
That's
yeah,
like
like
yeah. Cool.
I don't know. Like, what about you? Like, what kind of like racism or like whatever have
For
you
me,
faced?
it can be more overt because of course you're in the minority and
Hmm.
um, small town, not too much diversity. So it can be you. It's almost like you can have it every day. So and for example for you that would be kind of like a different experience for you, right? Being like stared at more, especially wearing a pug and stuff, right?
Hmm.
I was a Mona before, like we've talked before, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it can be every day, and that can be like a whole new experience. Like when I go to Surrey, like I got family there too and shit, right?
Yeah.
And when I'm there, it just feels like like sometimes like I got family like from India. When my grandparents come here, they're like it
Hmm.
doesn't even feel like sometimes we leave from Punjab, right?
Yeah.
And it just feel like home and stuff, right? But I can say Terrace is not that bad too, is because once you get to know people and you can more like embrace yourself, like
Hmm.
bring out yourself. But I can say I definitely faced it growing up, going to school, racial bullying, and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
That was definitely there, right? Because there's only 15,000 people in Paris, right? And
Hmm.
Surrey's got a population, if I can remember, like you guys have like 500,000 or a little bit more. I'm guessing, right?
Something like that, probably. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you. So for me, like what I mostly dealt with was like an identity crisis, where I didn't even feel like I was. You're not fully Canadian. You're not
Hmm.
not really fully Punjabi either. And a lot of kids here that grew up in Paris, so like they're like whitewashed and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Let's have that kind of like. How are people there? Like, are people like proud of who they are, or are they like kind of like gore type too? And like my other question is, because you're always with around Punjabi people, like you said, 70 or 80% are like brown, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever feel like you were totally 100% Canadian, or like how did you associate with like other races and stuff? Did you ever associate a lot with other races, or were you more like within your own, friend group?
So the first question was, how'd I? What was it again?
My first question was how did you get along with your with other, like did you feel like totally 100% Canadian at
Uh huh.
times,
Uh-huh.
or did you?
Yeah.
Because you're always around like brown people, right? Like
Yeah,
people that
yeah,
are
yeah.
Punjabi. Yeah. So did you ever feel like you were integrated, or you felt like you were like, that was my question.
So
Yeah.
I've never really felt like I belonged anywhere really.
Oh, okay.
Because like I've said in like some of my videos, like I'm like I don't want to get too much into the specifics, but like I'm not really part like of the like I'm a little different than normal Sikhi, right? So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
always like people are asking me, like even like I've always got questions from like Monne or from like other Singhs or whatever. They're just like, "Yo, how is it? Uh, like why do you wear like this? Or like why do you like?" Especially when I started tying pug, it's like, "Yo, why don't you tie a normal pug? Like why don't you like do stuff
yeah,
like
yeah,
that, right?"
yeah,
And for me, I guess like if I had like brown friends or like what kind of friends like because like I never like like I never really belonged anywhere, right? I feel like I've always like belonged like a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit but like never 100% anywhere because
yeah,
like like the brown people nowadays like they like blast Punjabi music and all that, right? And
yeah,
I've never really listened to Punjabi music that much because like I had like a shitty Punjab Bhangra teacher way back, and he kind of ruined like the whole experience for me, and I just like
yeah,
totally like strayed away from that, right? And like
yeah,
I just like started like listening to rap and like or just like other like white music and all that, right?
yeah.
And
So you're more like your own person, right? You don't like mixing up the crowd, pretty much, right? You do you.
yeah, it's just like exactly like I don't like because I'm not even that like social, like I'm not a social guy like that, right? Like obviously I talk with my friends and stuff, but like when I don't need to talk, like I just like chill in the background, just like sit there and all that.
That's
um
kind of like the similarity with me. Like the crowd. You want to try to be normal.
mhm.
I basically so you like what I'm kind of seeing is like you're around with Punjabi and you're not really like, hey, I'm gonna like try to be fit in, or like want to be like cool like the others. And that's the same thing with me. I was like growing up with them, and I was just kind of like, what, um I kind of feel like that's a little bit more freeing in the sense that you don't have to adapt yourself to who you're not. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's kind of freeing that way. I think you could say that too.
Yeah, and also like even though I was born, like raised in Surrey and stuff, right? I would still feel like a little disconnected from the other Punjabi kids because I remember I used to be called like a dipper and stuff too, right? Even though I was
Yeah,
born here, right? But
yeah,
like I remember I think I was like ashamed to like bring like pronte to school or like other brown food and stuff, right? Even though like most of other people are Punjabi or brown, they were still like I feel like would like eat white food and like stuff like that, and they'd be like kind of like shame you to like, oh, you brought like pronte to school, like whatever, and and then like later
that's
on,
awkward. That's awkward, eh?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
awkward.
So like I remember I'd like tell my mom, I was like, yeah, like give me like sandwiches instead or something, right? And in high school, after I was just like, whatever, I don't care anymore, right? Like after high school, I feel like I kind of like mellowed out and like started. I was like, I didn't really care. Like I brought Bronte, I brought like Joel or whatever, right? But in
Yeah,
high school, in like elementary school, I remember there was like this like period and a little bit of high school, I guess. It's just like, yo, like yeah, I want like white type of food or whatever. And because like even like my parents, right, they just came straight from like India, and
yeah,
literally I was born like a year or two later after they came to Canada, right? So it's like they're pretty brown. So like in the food department, like I'm pretty like I'm not whitewashed really.
yeah.
But like speaking wise or whatever, and like culture wise, maybe I'm like whitewashed, but in that aspect, I think I'm like pretty like brown washed and stuff. Or like if that's not even a word, but you know what I mean.
So you're kind of like you're kind of like stuck in between two grounds, right? You would say you don't really feel like we could also say that you're like Punjabi Canadian. I think that's more
Mm,
appropriate since there is stuff part of Punjabi culture that you've grown up with, and you're also Canadian at the same time, which is the case for most of us, right? Which
yeah.
is the case. Um, yeah, that's the thing. Was there anything else you wanted to add? Like in particular that like
Um, I don't think I really wanted to like add anything. I think
have you ever
maybe.
lived
Mhm.
like what's let me ask what's so I talked about my experience when I go to Surrey, the different kind of feeling that
Yeah.
has affected. Have you ever lived anywhere that's like in every big city there's pretty much Punjabis, right? You go to
Yeah.
Edmonton, you'll find them, right? There's not
Mhm.
that much culture shock. Have you ever went now lived in like a small town in your life before? Like where there's not a lot, and did you kind of feel like it was a little bit different for you?
I've never lived in like a small town or whatever.
Yeah.
But like I've obviously like I remember like when I went to India, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like really tall. I'm like 6'4",
Oh shit.
and yeah. So I always remember like people would be like staring at me like for that. It's just like yeah, like this, like they would like because like I'd like stick out, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe like that's my like my posture is bad and shit because like like hella tall and like I don't like being noticed and stuff, I guess. Uh,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Like I haven't like even when I went to like other places and shit, I'd never really noticed that too much. Um,
Yeah.
but I remember it's just like also like how like brown families is like whenever we vacation and stuff, right? It's like we bring out like bronte from like home and like there's like white people around and like stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And like it always obviously feels weird a little bit, right? It's like just like bringing your own home like food from home or whatever and just eating like bronte and stuff at like or like cooking
Yeah.
bronte
Then you got
even
like
and stuff, right? Yeah, like a
yeah, and then
park
you
or
got like the
something.
gore. You got like the gore eating like burgers. Everyone's eating
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
the barbecue food.
Mhm.
And then you just got roti out there.
Yeah,
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 that's
yeah.
fun. Is this in Vancouver, right? You're talking about in Vancouver, like on the beaches and shit.
Yeah, even like Vancouver, or it's like even if we go on like a little road trip or something, like with my cousins and all that, right? And
Yeah.
it's just like we go to like a park or something, and then we're like over there. It's just like they bring out like the whole picnic table, like type not table, but like a picnic rug type thing, and just like sit on the grass and just eat like bronte and all that, right? And or
So
even like also in like I don't know if like you guys do this or like the rest of us, but we is just like whenever we go like we airplanes, right, like go to India or whatever, we always have like bronte like packed in there too, right? A little bit just
yeah,
like
yeah,
eat those on the flight or whatever, because
yeah.
our parents are like you don't get hungry and all that, right? But that was also a little interesting experience. But I've never really I don't think I never really noticed too much about other people like staring at me that, or maybe I'm just like used to it now because like I'm always being stared at because I'm always different like somehow usually, right?
Yeah,
I'm
because you got the bug, you got the
six
beard, you got
four,
your
just
ball.
sticking. I'm always sticking out, so I guess I'm just like kind of used to it at this point. Mhm.
So my question. So now I'm a little bit interested to ask you, because you said you brought roti, you on the beach, you kind of feel awkward
Yeah,
when you're by the gore, and then when you brought roti to school and the other Punjabi kids would make fun of you.
yeah.
Where did you feel a little bit more? I can say embarrassed. Where did you feel a little bit more awkwarded out? Let's say awkward out. Where did you feel more awkward? By eating protein by gore or by the other Apne kids would be like, you're a different shit, right?
Yeah.
What made you feel more awkward? Or was it like pretty much both?
I feel like I think I felt more awkward with the Punjabis actually because like the white people they never really said anything, right? They just like mind their own business usually, maybe like a stare here and there, right? But like usually they're
They
just
probably
like
like the food too. They probably like the food too. So I bet the gore are like probably looking like, oh, this like gore like Apne food, right? But
yeah,
I would be really awkward because the thing is like when I was growing up, I would be like, yo, what is that? They ask me and it's something
yeah,
like it's not right. Gore don't really make fun of you, and it would make it's really weird why Apne kids would have it because they technically would be having like roti and sabji at home and
yeah.
stuff. Right? Sorry for cutting you off. I know you're gonna say something,
No, I get it.
but right, they have that stuff at home, so I don't know why they're acting. They're trying to
Like
talk
act,
shit, right?
yeah, like
So
they're trying to act like a little higher or something. I don't know, like better than you or something. I don't know.
I don't want to. I don't want to mention it, but I want to before I say something. I want to ask you, why do you think they're doing that, even though they're technically having that kind of food at home? Why do you think they do that?
I don't know. Maybe they just like felt weird about it themselves, or like maybe they just want to act cool or something. Because like there wasn't like even in my elementary school, there's always like only like one or two white kids in my like class or whatever. Like it wasn't like really is like really
Yeah.
rare, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just like they just felt like oh you brought bronte to school, like they just kind of like said it like that. They never like I don't know. Like I remember I don't know. It's strange, right? It's strange. I can't really say too much about that. It's just like because I might even like be making up shit at this point. I don't even know because it was like a while ago, right? Because like in high school and stuff, like
Superiority. I'm kind of thinking it might be superiority,
mhm.
because I can see there's a big thing where a lot of it does exist where kids that are born here like they'll look down on international students, like they'll think they're superior, right?
Yeah,
Like of course some of them will do dumbass stuff, right? But I've noticed that exists where kids that are born here they'll be like, oh, people from India they're nasty,
yeah,
they're
yeah,
gross,
yeah.
all that stuff, right? So when they see you do that, even though that they know you're born here, they're like, hey, this guy like. It's like I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it, but I think I might have to say. I think it's more like, I hate saying it, but supremacy. That Canadian is good, Western is good, and then Western is better than India, pretty much. Western stuff, they have that kind of mentality. I hate to say it, but that's what I feel.
I get it, because people always like want to fit in, right? And they're kind of like ashamed of like being different, because usually people want to blend in. That's why Singhs cut their hair or whatever, probably like a little part two, right? Like just to blend in.
You're talking about Arnie, right? You're talking about Arnie. I don't know. We don't know his reason, like he mentioned, but like they want to fit in. They think that's like old traditional stuff, but it's awkward because in a way you're almost like shaming yourself without knowing it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Nah, I get it, because I feel like maybe like I don't know if I was ever ashamed of being like a Singh or anything. There's probably been moments of my life that I have, I think, for sure, right? It's just like, you're just like, why am I, like, why do I have to do this? Why do, whatever. I think I've probably had moments like that for sure. And even though, like, being in a brown, like, city mostly, right? It's just like, still, they'd be like, oh, why are you wearing a pug? Oh, will you ever cut your hair? Oh, why are you not Amrishak? Why are you Amrishak? Or like, whatever. Always, like, questions.
All these questions, right?
Yeah, even though they're brown, it's just like, you still get them. And
like not how many people have a problem with, like, I'm surprised. I've never had a problem where people ask me how do you tie your fucking stuff. Like that's the problem that like Gore don't really give a shit too much. Like up people they're always putting the finger, they're always trying to have people like, like if Arnie, like for Arnie something, he cuts his hair, right? Big problem, right? Somebody has a beard, then be like, how come if you trim it you look good? You probably get some girls.
I got that for sure, because
trims his beard. Singh trims his beard, they're gonna be like, how come you keep the hair on your head but you don't grow your beard? It's like consistent. No matter what you do, people are gonna be on your back. People are gonna be on your back. You can't change it. You can't change it.
And just one point.
Let him chop it.
Yeah, and I just gotta add in one thing for the beard. It's just like I used to get teased about my beard a lot. Is because it doesn't, like, it was growing weird, right, or whatever. It's just like when it grows. And I remember I was like, why your beard looks like pubes and like shit like that, right? And but it's just like you kind of just like struggle through it. You're just like, whatever, just screw off the haters and just keep on doing your thing, and then eventually just stop usually, right? Or
so pretty much we're being discriminated, but like the thing is, you would be discriminated, but it's not technically discrimination because it's from your own people. So that's the thing, man. That's the thing. We as humans, we're gonna deal with BS no matter what. Even if Gore or with Apne, because the thing where I see it is like, so when you were being teased, were you being teased by like other people that were like keeping like their gifts but they would trim their beards? It was like mostly from like Mon and stuff.
I think it was mostly Mon, right? Because I think like Singhs usually they like stick together, kind of, right? It's just like I don't know, but like but for sure, there's beef between like them and stuff too, right? But I think Mon, they're like, why don't you like trim your beard? Like that guy does it. Why don't you like like do that? Like he does it. Like always like comparing you to others or whatever. It's like, like you should trim it, you'll get some girls or whatever, or like, because like, even Sikhi, like I feel like nowadays like Sikhis just all over the place too, right? Because half the Singhs are Monne or whatever, right? Half the Singhs like trim their beards, half the Singhs like go around fuck and like drink and like smoke and all that, right? And really, I think like Sikhis is in a weird place right now where like most people don't even follow it anymore. You know what I mean?
I again, I ain't 100% follower. I ain't perfect either, but like, the thing is, I'm trying to improve, right? Yeah. I do like I've had a couple of bad days. I'm not gonna get into it. That's probably a conversation for the future, right? But it is all over the place, and it's kind of like that's what I mentioned. I think the more they kind of do it, it's more like the inferiority complex that that being white or being Canadian or being like trying to be like everybody else, that's the ideal thing. And it's just you know what the term inferiority complex means, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like you just like feel inferior to yourself, like to other people, right?
Yeah, they feel inferior. They'll tell themselves that they're not being inferior, they're just being them, but in reality it isn't an inferiority complex within themselves why they're doing that, because technically they are the ones that be like, okay, we're proud to be Sikh. They'll be at the Vaisakhi parade, right? You know what I mean. You know what I mean, right? Yeah. And then later they're like shitting on their like Singh bros, right? The bros that are Singh, which is really awkward. You know what I mean?
Like they're just hypocritical and stuff, and like I hate hypocrites the most. You know, it's just like, it pisses me off. It's just like whenever like hypocritical to like anything. It's just like, why you like you know, it's just like, well, guy will be like preaching this and they'll be like doing the exact opposite, right? It's just like, nah, dude, like just shut the fuck up. Like, why you?
You know, one guy was telling me he's from Surrey. Like, I didn't really have that much problems because there's not a lot of Sikhs here.
Yeah.
So the ones who are Sardars, they tend to get respect because we're already like a small country. So I tend to get respect. I've never been called like Gyani and stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
Maybe I would have when I was younger because I didn't start keeping kids till I was like 22, right?
Yeah.
And I know that insult. A lot of people that are from bigger cities, like I found, there's boys that are from like Calgary, like that follow me on Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Calgary, Toronto. They'd be like, we've been called like Yannis and shit, right?
Yeah.
And right, and then when I told one of the guys, I was like, when they call you a Gyani, right? You know what response you should give?
Yeah.
You should give, yeah. You should be like, yeah, I'm. Okay, I have to remember what I said. So. This thing, the response you're supposed to give, especially if it's someone who says, hey, Gyani, kadda, you know how they tease you and shit, right? You're supposed to say, you should be like, yeah, man, I'm proud to keep yes, and you just smile, right?
Yeah.
And that'll give a sting to them because they'll be like, fuck, this guy didn't get like hassled by what I said, and you're kind of like throwing the insult back at them and be like, yeah, man, I'm sick and I'm proud to have kids, right? And that's gonna like, fuck, man, he shot the bullet.
Yeah.
They basically shoot the bullet, right? And it doesn't go through you, and they still get shot in the process, right? That's what you're supposed to say. You're like, yeah, man, I'm sick and I'm proud to keep kids, man.
Yeah.
You just not give a bright smile and shit. You should just see their face, man.
Yeah, because like I forgot to mention that too, right? It's just like every like Monday or whatever, like oh Gyani Thai, right, or whatever, right? Like if they got like you got a cushion or whatever, and like I don't know if 100% they mean it as an insult, right? But like
sometimes it's an insult, sometimes it's just like it's like such a common thing where sometimes it can't even mean an insult because Gyani's not even a bad thing. Gyani is somebody with knowledge. Gyani basically means knowledge. It'd be like if somebody says, "Hey, Gyani," right? You can say, "Bro, don't call me Gyani. I don't have." Gyani is somebody with a lot of knowledge. Like I don't have a lot of knowledge. I'm not like a teacher or anything. So just call me Singh, right?
Yeah.
Because when they're saying Gyani, they're kind of like disrespecting the word. And like, bro, don't respect the word. I'm no Gyani because I don't have that much knowledge. Just call me Singh, please, right? And you just say it like that. If they call you again, right? Just let them. Don't let it affect you, right? Because it's their stupidity. Once you tell them, then they're stupid. Just let them use the word in like in a simple way, right? Just let them use it.
Because I think like my experience, I feel like Gyani is just like kind of like so normalized now. It's like I think because of like creators like AKTV even using it or whatever, right? Is that even like other Singhs use the word Gyani sometimes, right? I feel like it's definitely changing now, but I've had other Singhs say Gyani. I've had like other people like Monday say Gyani and all that. And like some of these things.
I think it's more of a normal thing. It's like it's a bad way we use. You know how Kale kind of use the word like. It's not technically that way. They use like the N-word for. I think Gyani's had that prop where not entirely, but it's not technically good that it's been used that way, right? Because it's been used in a sense which it shouldn't be used, right? Because Gyani's technically supposed to be somebody that's the one at the Gurdwara that's like doing the pot and all that stuff, right? But what can you do? What can you do, right? Because
Yeah, but I guess like my closing thoughts on this whole thing is just like even though I've been like born and raised in Surrey, me being Punjabi, surrounded by Punjabis, it's like you still get like discrimination, you still get teased, you can still get bullied or whatever, and it's just like at the end of the day, I think like people are shit, and like
what race and stuff, right? Bullying's gonna be there,
exactly
because people that are there, because a lot of people, it's shitty, right? Because the people that like to bug other people and pick on them, that's what they feed off of. That's their happiness because they ain't happy with themselves, bro. They ain't happy with themselves. So they find that enjoyment. So usually an easy target. So like for me, when I'm in a small town, like I'll get it and stuff, right? But like if you're in a big town, right?
Yeah.
Gosh, those shitty people, like they're everywhere, man. So they're gonna find someone and be like, okay, we can make fun of them here, right?
Yeah.
So you're it's right, man. Like technically there are differences, but there are similarities. So we're gonna go through our struggles no matter what, being brown here in a small town, being brown in a big town,
Yeah.
and differences and also similarities. And I
Yeah.
think that's a good way to close it off, pretty much.
Yeah.